Welcome to another episode of the Chicks on the Right podcast. Man, do we ever have a treat for everybody in our audience today. We are so excited to welcome Kirk Cameron to our show. Of course, he's an actor, author, producer, speaker, host of the Kirk Cameron Show. And we wanted to have you on, Kirk, to ask you about your faith, your conservative values, thoughts on today's culture. But before we get to any of that, we wanted to find out if you remember meeting us in Todd Starnes' Fox studio back in 2018, because we remember it well.
You know, I think, so the short answer is no. And so let's just get that out of the way now. If it hurts your feelings, I'm sorry.
Not at all.
Here, I think I've detected the reason, because this is not the first time. I forget my own, by my own cousins' names from New Jersey.
Listen,
when we get together for weddings and funerals.
Yeah.
And I think I have a theory. It's because since I was a child, I was trained to have my short-term RAM memory filled with a new script and then exit it, delete it for new material that I had to memorize for the next week's episode of Growing Pains. And so, you know, if it's not locked into my 20-year deep brain memory, it's just gone after a week.
I love this explanation.
What do you think? Is that fly?
Oh my gosh,
totally
look,
flies. So we wanted to show you a picture of the three of us that we had. This is in Todd Starnes' radio studio back at Fox. This was in 2018. But the reason that we took note of it and that we will never forget it is because you and Daisy looked fantastic together. You and me, you were so scared of me and gave me such side eye. And so that's why forever for me is one of those funny memories where I'm like, Kirk Cameron gave me side eye, you guys. That's my claim to fame.
It's my favorite picture ever.
I don't remember, but it looked like, so I must have felt something sketchy. I don't know.
Well, I mean, she is scary. She's very, very scary with her huge smile and those big white teeth. She's very, very intimidating.
Well,
scary.
Thank you, ladies, for having me on Chicks on the Right. I'm looking forward to talking with you about the culture and about the state of family and politics and spirituality, or whatever it is that you guys want to run with.
Well, we're so excited to have you on. You're part of, at least I will speak for myself. I think I also speak for Mark, but you're part of my childhood, basically. Totally. I feel like we grew up with you. So it's
Wait a minute. It's all coming back to me now. I don't remember meeting you on the Todd Starnes show. But I thought you looked familiar from back in the 1980s. That was you looking through the television screen.
It was me.
The other direction.
Guilty. Totally me. We are both Gen Xers.
Totally look familiar.
We're all Gen Xers. We grew up together. So it's really just a pleasure to have you on our show. We're going to launch right in. So the first thing I want to ask you about is there have been a lot of stories over the past, past year, a couple of weeks. There have been a lot that have popped up, really, at least in my socials, but about toxic masculinity and how I feel like it's really weird that it's we're even talking about masculinity making a comeback. It should have never gone out of style, but I feel like it's coming back. The pendulum is swinging back. And I want to see what you think about masculinity making a comeback as a father, a man of faith, what you think about, or how you feel about men and how they've been treated over the past, 10, 20 years, and masculinity making a comeback.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good question. I've not talked about it per se, but and now that you ask that, I think that the men who have allowed masculinity to be minimized should lose their man card. I mean, it's just inherently a lack of masculinity to allow masculinity as men to fall by the wayside, or to be defined by feminists who would like to tell men what it actually means to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have also seem to have been confused about what masculinity actually is. So with the advent of trans men and males having children, babies getting pregnant, this has all become very, very confusing for our young boys. And I've got 3 sons who talk with me about, Dad, what does it mean to be a man in today's culture when Harry Styles is wearing a dress
right,
and half the dudes I know are painting their nails?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to be judgmental. We want to be loving. But is there not such a thing as truth? Is there any objective objectivity to gender and to sex? So I think that masculinity, according to my worldview, is something that's inherent in good families and good societies, and that men and women are to complement each other, and that women don't make great worlds without men, and men don't make great worlds without women. I don't think we're meant to. God could have made Adam and Steve,
right?
But he didn't. He made Adam and Eve, and rather than making the first two people redundant in terms of their gender, he made them a harmony between male and female, and together they produce this miracle called children, and they populate a world full of people who are meant to love God and love one another, and be a blessing. So I'm thrilled to the degree that real masculinity is making a comeback, and I too have met lots of people who have talked about this need to figure it out again and get back to it, because we see the results of bad ideologies. As soon as masculinity becomes toxic, by pointing out some bad versions of masculinity, that's the slippery slope that sees masculinity go down the drain altogether. That's not good for men, and it's definitely not good for women.
It's not good for society.
Yeah.
It's not good for us as a whole.
It's not.
Yeah.
And my daughters are asking the same question. Dad, where are all the men?
Right.
I don't want, right? Like, we're all for compassion in men.
Mm-hmm.
We're all for these kinds of things. But the last thing I want is a feminine man.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Where's the guy in, the boots and the Ford truck who's going to be ready to save me from someone or something that's trying to hurt me? I want a protector, and I want a provider. I want someone who's going to be a spiritual leader in my life.
Absolutely.
And I want someone who's got some testosterone that manifests in solid masculinity.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And you and your wife, Chelsea, you've been married for over 3 decades, and you're such a good example for a traditional man-woman family marriage. And so a lot of people I know had difficulty in the election when it came to, especially evangelicals. A lot of people have trouble with Trump and sort of his brashness and his style, shall we say. And I know you were asked recently how to square Trump's behavior within Scripture. And I thought that was an interesting question that you were asked, and you had an interesting answer. I was hoping you could share it with our audience.
Well, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'll hit refresh and try it again. Jordan Peterson said something. Let me start over. Jordan Peterson said something very interesting. He said, if you're worried about the danger of strong men, wait till you see what dangerous thing weak men are capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need weak men. We need strong men. Now, we don't need men who are domineering and who take dominion over women or over other men. What we want is to have a good understanding of what it means to be strong and courageous, what it means to be protective and to be a leader. And so with regard to Donald Trump squaring with biblical values, I would say that, we could talk about the category of morality. We could talk about the category of politics and policy, his personal life, his public life. There are many things for which I am very grateful. And one of them is that the nation did not choose the horrible, wicked alternative of a Democratic Party that's been hijacked by an extreme leftist regime that is careening us straight down the sewer hole toward tyranny and bondage. The federal government, as is true in the history of all nations, is always looking to expand. George Washington likened it to a fire. He said, government is like a fire. It's good when it remains a servant. if I make a little fire, I can cook my eggs on it. I can make a campfire in my backyard in the fire pit, and I can roast marshmallows with my kid and warm my hands by its heat. But if it grows and it's uncontained, it begins to spread and it will consume everything in order to grow bigger. And now you have a Southern California wildfire that consumes 10,000 acres and 100,000 structures. And it is massively damaging. That's what's happened in China. That's what's happened in other nations around the world where liberty has been consumed and devoured. And that can happen in the United States of America too.
Right.
So with regard to Donald Trump, yes, people can say, well, what's with all of the powerful mandates and this top-down ordering? Yeah, we're in trouble right now. But I think he sees himself as someone who's got 4 years to make good on the promises of draining the swamp and trying to turn the ship around before we go over the falls. And so ultimately, I like that he is protecting women, that he is protecting the borders. I love that he's doing so much for the pro-life movement and protecting babies. I love what he's doing economically. I love that he acknowledges that he's going to be gone in 4 years and says, guys, this is just something to try, like a chiropractic adjustment. I'm going to try to put this in the right position.
I love that.
But ultimately, you guys are the muscles that need to hold it here. And if you don't, the whole thing's going to get out of joint again. So, right? Like, I'm helpful, but this is not the way you want to run your country long term.
Yeah. He's kind of like rewriting the narrative. And it goes back to the whole masculinity thing. I think conservatism is obviously part of that, where, you know, Mock and I, we've been doing this for, I don't even know how many, like almost 16 years now. We've been Chicks on the Right. And that pendulum, we saw it swing so far to the left, and we were like, is it ever going to come back? Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I feel like it's starting to come back, because I look at Gen Zers. You know, I have a 15-year-old, you know, we have older kids that are millennials, but we also have a 15-year-old. And I see kids her age that are openly Christian, openly conservative. They're doing that more so than the previous generation, or at least what I've seen, I think. I mean, and it's refreshing to see that. Like, they're just like loud and proud about it. They're loud and proud of it. Because we saw for so many years, a lot of people would write us and say, I'm conservative, but I'm afraid to say it out loud, you know? Yeah. And now we're seeing kids going, yeah, I'm Christian. Yeah, I'm conservative. Yeah, I'm going to say it out loud. And I love that. What are your feelings on that? Do you think that that's going to continue?
So, you know, my crystal ball broke. And so my thought is that it's good that conservatives and people of biblical faith are saying, I want to come out of the closet and I want to be loud. I'm not a fan of being proud, but I understand in the good sense. You want to represent your values, but being loud and being proud doesn't make you right. We have other groups who are loud and proud, and it's not right. It's actually damaging children, leading to chemical castration and physical mutilation of boys and girls in the name of being loud and proud. And so just like the rainbow religion used to be in the closet, but now out of the closet, loud and proud with parades, conservatives have felt like they've been in the closet when the pendulum swung that left way. And now they're coming out and being loud and proud. So I think that what our hope is not a choice between left or right, and being loud and proud. It's really the age-old choice between up or down. It's either up to the ways of God, which lead to maximum liberty under law and heaven's principles of truth, beauty, and goodness, or we go down to the ant heap of totalitarianism and bondage. So we just need to really get back to the issue of the heart. I think the heart of the issue is always the issue of the heart. Do we love God and his truth and his ways? Are we going to follow them, which have always led historically to liberty and goodness and blessing? Or are we going to follow our own ways, which lead to tyranny and confusion and stress and the breakdown of family and the overreach of government?
But if there's one thing I know for
sure,
I was just going to say, if there's one thing for sure that in the United States, nobody should live in fear of how they feel about, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, we shouldn't live in fear. If I can sound a little cliche here, but I mean it truly. Except, without the fear of the Lord, everything falls apart, because you will then begin to fear other people. You'll begin to fear what they think of you.
Agreed.
You'll begin to fear that you'll be persecuted because of your values. And then everyone runs back into the closet, or they tuck their head back into their turtle shell because they don't want to get their head chopped off. So yes, we don't want to be afraid of doing what's right.
Right.
Well, and I think to Daisy's point, you know, when she used the phrase loud and proud, I think she and we mean it in a positive way, in that so many people have been afraid to speak out. And it's been so, I mean, we cannot tell you the number of messages we get from people who are like, can you say this on your show, but don't put my name on it because I'm afraid for my job. I'm afraid what my friends will think. And so to that extent, we're super excited to see particularly young people, now that pendulum is swinging so that they are especially men. I mean, Democrats are right now about to spend $20 million to figure out how they lost young men to the MAGA movement. And the answer is so clear that they've done everything they can to
demonize them.
To demonize them, to make them feel toxic.
Right.
And so I'm glad that those young men are starting to find their voices. And I think that's what, I mean, I'm not speaking for you, Daisy, but I think that's what she meant.
Listen, we share a brain, so you
it's refreshing to hear. It's refreshing. I love to hear that. I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's why during COVID, I made 100 consecutive campfires in my backyard talking about courage and bravery, because we were under house arrest, essentially, in California, under lockdown by our governor, and we couldn't get 6 feet from another human being or go to school or work or church or anything. And so I love that people are feeling brave and courageous. We need it now more than ever.
Did you ever think about leaving California?
You did, didn't you? Yeah.
I not only thought about it, I actually did it. I now live in the state of Tennessee. We've lived here for about a year.
Okay. All right. And it was COVID that drove you to do that, correct?
No, it was our children that drew us to do that. Our children grew up. They moved out of the house, and several of them lived in Tennessee. So we moved to be with them because we want to be with our kids. And then all of our kids moved here, and now we have a granddaughter here. So
That's
Sunday
wonderful.
night dinners are back in full swing.
So great.
And it's great. We absolutely love
Tennessee's
it. We love both
awesome.
California and Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee's beautiful. I went to undergrad school in Tennessee. It's beautiful. And then once you're there, you're like, why did I wait to come here? Because it's so beautiful, I bet.
Well, I can give people one reason to wait, and that is the bugs.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready for a mosquito as your state bird, don't come to the South.
That's true. That's true.
It is true. I mean, Daisy's in Texas and I'm in South Carolina, and we have our share of bugs.
Everything is bigger here.
California is just like bug-free, essentially, in comparison.
Yes.
But California does have its faults, as you've pointed out. I wonder, I mean, I know you said that your kids are what drew you out of California, but would you have stayed? I mean, say that your kids were still there. Would you have stayed, or do you think you all would have been like, Gavin Newsom is ruining the state, we're out of here?
It's hard to say. We love so much about California. We have Napa Valley. We have Yosemite. We have the ocean and the beach. We have the mountains. We have great weather, 365. So we love a lot about Tennessee, and God in his providence has us here for now. This may just be a strategic retreat where we learn how to build communities that are centered around faith and family and liberty, and then go back and begin to plant those types of things in places like San Francisco and Southern California, where they need it so desperately.
Yeah. So I have a question about the Firefly Foundation. I got to say that 15 times fast. And Camp Firefly. Can you talk about those? As I didn't know that you did this. And how did you get into doing this? Because this was started back in what, 1990?
Yes. When I was on the show Growing Pains, together with my now wife, Chelsea, we played boyfriend and girlfriend at the time on the show.
We remember.
I was so jealous of her.
Oh my gosh,
God.
right? She's so beautiful.
So jealous.
Too. Seriously.
She still is. And
yeah.
I didn't even know the hidden beauty in her until we had 6 children, and I saw that whole side of my wife, which is just angelic. And now we've been holding a camp for terminally ill children and their families for 35 years.
Wow.
And it started when we were on the set of Growing Pains meeting children through the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Starlight Foundation, whose wish was to meet the cast of Growing Pains. So they would come with their mom and dad and brothers and sisters and take a picture and then, sign an autograph, and they were gone. And we wanted to do something more to help them during this difficult chapter. So we started an all-expense-paid week-long vacation and invited not just the sick kids, like so many camps do, and thank God for those camps, but the moms and dads were never able to participate in the activities, and the siblings often get sidelined because of all the attention that needs to go to the sick kids. So we invited the whole family. We invite 6 every summer, and so it's an intimate group of about 7 families, and we spend a whole week personally with them and with our kids doing everything from mom's makeovers, queen for the day, pool parties and piñatas with, Mexican food and Hawaiian luau's on the beach and water skiing and a wild animal park and golfing and everything to make memories and find time to just connect as people who love our families and we cherish our children. It's called Camp Firefly.
Love it.
And we're coming up on year 36 this summer.
Gosh.
And we would love if people would go check us out at the website and pray about supporting these families so that we can love them well. It's at campfirefly.com.
And it's in Georgia, right?
It's in Georgia. It's at a family resort in Georgia called Callaway Gardens.
I know exactly where that. I grew up in Georgia, so I know exactly where that is. That's just fantastic. I hope people will definitely check that out.
I hope so too. We want to keep doing this.
Yes.
But we need help and support.
Absolutely.
Sure. So tell people, because I don't know if everyone knows that you are an author of a kid's book, right?
Yes.
So talk about that, and then also let our audience know what other projects you have going on currently and where people can keep up with you.
So there's this really wonderful company called Brave Books. And Brave has this Book of the Month Club where they send a brand new book with a pro-God, pro-America value to your doorstep every month. And these are books that teach children about the fruit of the Spirit, like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control, and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and all kinds of great things like warning about socialism, understanding the importance of telling the truth to your parents and overcoming your own fears, how to navigate the lies of culture. So I wrote a book called As You Grow, and I had a great idea to go to a public library and read it as a story hour to children. And I was denied by over 50 woke libraries that previously held drag queen story hours in those same libraries.
You should have shown up in a dress.
No. Yeah.
I bet if I came in fishnet stockings and high heels, I would have been welcomed with open arms. But that outfit never looked good on me. And so I went as I was. And when we showed up, we were greeted by thousands and thousands of parents and grandparents who want to return to the values that they know built this country and will lead to their children's blessing and protection. So we've written many of these books, and we've also turned them into beautiful, colorized, animated, plus live action television episodes in a new series called Iggy and Mr. Kirk. So think of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for our generation, for families today, with Sesame Street-like puppets, including a little green, adorable iguana named Iggy that I'm raising in my treehouse in Mr. Kirk's backyard. And he has to learn all of these lessons that normal 5-year-olds have to learn, like identity and trusting God and telling the truth. What do you do when you wet the bed? And forgiveness. And he has friends, including a vulture named Culture, who's always lying to him and deceiving him. And he's got to rely on his mom and dad for wisdom. And he has access to a base chat GPT, a non-woke supercomputer who can tell him the truth. And it's just a runaway hit on Brave Plus. It's just about to be released on the Angel Studios app, where you watch the Chosen and PureFlix. So it's very exciting. It's called Iggy and Mr. Kirk, and people can find out and watch it at braveplus.com or download the Brave Plus app on your phone or TV.
Awesome.
And then you've got a show or a couple of different shows. Tell us about those.
Well, I host a talk show on Monday nights called Takeaways, where I interview everybody from astronauts to atheists, pastors to politicians. It's really fun. I learn a lot. And I just launched a brand new podcast. It's called The Kirk Cameron Show, where I tackle politics and culture from a biblical perspective and help families find truth in a culture of chaos and find hope and peace. And new episodes drop every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Very
Well,
exciting.
It's been a joy to talk with you, and I do forgive you for the side eye. I'm going to be over it now. I'm just glad we got to show you the picture, honestly, because I've thought about it so many times, and we posted about it, and it's been my claim to fame, really, that I got side eye from Kirk Cameron.
I know. She's like, it's her growing pains, basically.
I'm glad I could make for a good story.
Totally. What a pleasure. It's just been a joy talking to you. Thank you so much.
Yes, we appreciate you.
You as well. Thank you for all your important work. Keep it up. We really need it.
Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.